abundant evidence of crimes against humanity in North Korea. Panel says a stunning catalog of torture and the widespread abuse of even the weakest of North Koreans reveal a portrait of a brutal state that does not have any parallel in the contemporary world, a United Nations panel reported Monday. North Korean leaders employ murder, torture, slavery, sexual violence, mass starvation, and other abuses as tools to prop up the state and terrorize the population into submission. The United Nations Commission of Inquiry on Human Rights (COL) in North Korea said in its report. The Commission said it would refer its findings to the International Criminal Court (ICC). From possible persecution, it also sent a letter warning North Korean leader Kim Jong-un that he could face persecution for crimes against humanity, and said other options include establishing of an ad hoc tribunal by the United Nations. Even before the report's release, China, a permanent member of the UN Security Council and staunch ally of North Korea, has said it would not to allow human rights charges to proceed to the ICC. The almost year-long investigation traced the abuses directly to the highest levels of the North Korean government while simultaneously blaming world leaders for sitting on their hands amid untold agony. The UN panel released its 400-page report after hearing from more than 320 witnesses in public hearings and private interviews. North Korea is a state and concluded that does not contain itself with ensuring the authoritarian rule of a small group of people, but seeks to dominate every aspect of its citizens' lives and terrorize them from within. The suffering and tears of the people of North Korea demand action. Commission Chairman Michael Kirby told reporters. The government of North Korea, also known as the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, or DPRK, rejected the report as a ganged-up effort to undermine its government. It is nothing more than an instrument of political plot and subtending the socialist system by defaming the dignified images of the DPRK and creating an atmosphere of international pressure under the pretext of human rights protection, the government said in a prepared statement. North Korea did not respond to requests for access to the country and information about its human rights practices, according to the Commission. China had previously stated that it would not approve human rights charges on North Korea to go to the International Criminal Court. On Monday, prior to the reports released, a Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokeswoman Huang Chunying said submitting human rights issues to the International Court of Justice won't help improve a country's human rights condition. She maintained that China advocates constructive dialogue and cooperation to resolve differences on human rights issues. The Commission of Inquiry sought access to part of China that bordered North Korea during the 11-month investigation, but was denied. The Commission also requested a visit to Beijing to meet relevant officials and experts on North Korea issues, a request that was also denied by China with the reasoning that based on its position on country-specific mandates, especially on the Korean Peninsula, it would not be possible to extend an invitation to the Commission, according to the report. In the report, the Commission recommended that China abstain from forcibly repatriating North Koreans who escape their country due to the punishment they face once they are returned. Meanwhile, the U.S. State Department expressed support for the UN report and urged North Korea to take concrete steps, as recommended by the Commission of Inquiry, to improve the human rights situation for the North Korean people. We look forward to thoroughly reviewing the report and discussing his recommendations with our partners who share our deep concern about the human rights situation in North Korea. The group Human Rights Watch released a statement saying that the devastating findings of its inquiry should not be ignored, since the crimes were perpetrated by state actors. Only an international tribunal can properly carry out criminal investigations aimed at holding perpetrators accountable, said Kenneth Roth, executive director at Human Rights Watch. During the compilation of the report, one witness, a survivor of a North Korean prison camp, told the commission of seeing a guard beat a nearly starving woman who had recently given birth, then forced the woman to drown her baby. Others told of being imprisoned for watching soap operas, trying to find food for their families, traveling without permission, or having family members considered suspected by the government. Number 2. Members of Pussy Riot detained in Sochi while planning anti-Putin song. Sochi, Russia. Just 6 days to go in the Sochi Olympics, and the games seem to be going off without major political side effects. Not a hint of the long-speculated terror threat. Hardly a voice of dissent in Putin's Russia until Tuesday. Then 2 members of the band Pussy Riot, notorious government critics, were detained in central Sochi. One of their husbands told CNN it set off a social media firestorm. Maria Alekina and Nadezhda Tolokonnikova were in town to protest against the lack of freedom of speech. Their prime target, Russian President Vladimir Putin. The pair was planning to record a critical song in Sochi English called Putin Will Teach You Love the Homeland. They were meeting with journalists with police detained then. Tolokonnikova's husband, Peter Verdzilov, said reports in Russian media confirmed the detention. An ugly straw. A group of about 10 officials in plain clothes stopped the 2 while they were walking down the street with the journalists. 3 other members of Pussy Riot who used pseudonyms and 2 local activists, said Tank, one of the anonymous bandmates. They asked them for some identification. The official said something about a thief in the hotel where the band members were staying, and that they suspected Tolokonnikova had something to do with it, Tank said. The officers took the band members, activists, and journalists in for questioning. Ayokina, Tolokonnikova, and Tank took their cell phones and to Twitter to let the world know about it. detention apparently has not stopped them from getting their message out. Tolononikova posted photos of what she claims is a vehicle taking her to a police station. Ayokiana posted a tweet saying they had been detained near the church of Mikhail, the archangel, and were accused of committing a crime. Officers forced them into a police van, she said. 10 called CNN from the police station complaining about having to wait there with no information from police. They were not put in handcuffs, she said. A tweet went out saying they were being questioned without a lawyer present. Recently free, Ayakunia and Tolokonova were recently released from prison ahead of the Sochi Olympics. The band members were thrown in jail for nearly 2 years after they were convicted of hooliganism and inciting religious hatred for performing a riotous punk song, slamming Putin in a Moscow cathedral, and posting a video of it online. And a third member of Pussy Riot, Yekaterina Smartsevich, was released in 2012. In February, other members of the band distanced themselves from Tolokonikova and Ayokhina, saying the two no longer belong to Pussy Riot. Nassau Verzilov said Tuesday they are still in the band. Since their release, the two have given many interviews to journalists about their time behind bars, describing the conditions in prison as squalid and their treatment by guards as demeaning and inhuman. They have said that the threat of imprisonment will not prevent them from protesting. Number 3. Holy water washes away sins at Ethiopia's Tinket Festival. Every week, Inside Africa takes its viewers on a journey across Africa, exploring the true diversity and the depth of different cultures, countries, and regions. Follow House Errol Barnett on Twitter and Facebook. Gondar, Ethiopia. France has lotus. India has the Ganges. Ethiopia, meanwhile, has Gondar. Situated about 450 miles north of Addis Ababa, it is populated by hills and tall trees and dotted with 17th century relics from the city's glory days. When it was the country's capital, Gondar today can seem somewhat remote. During the religion's festival of Timket, however, the city is inundated with pilgrims who come to reenact the baptism of Jesus in the River Jordan and take a dip in the holy waters at a historical facility's breath. Nearly 2/3 of Ethiopia's 94 million population is Christian, and the majority of those belong to the Orthodox Church. For them, Timket, celebrating the Epiphany, is among the most important occasions of the year. It is a two-day affair that begins with a procession of tabas, holy replicas of the Ark of the Covenant, the sacred cheese described in the book of Exodus as carrying the stone tables on which the 10 Commandments were written. The tabas are wrapped in cloth and placed on the heads of Ethiopian Orthodox Christian priests who parade the streets en route to the bath. The priests, clad in ceremonial robes, are escorted by drums and by the clapping and singing of worshippers, who hold an overnight vigil until dawn. There are services the following morning which culminate in the priestess blessing the waters of the historic bath, while onlookers crowd every nook surrounding the bath, some getting a pristine view from nearby trees. When the priests are done, the mood turns jubilant, and the spectators rush to jump into the pool. The water is blessed in the name of the Holy Trinity. In the name of God, the water is now sacred, and the sick shall be cured, explains Ezra Edis, the head priest at the local Manhattan church. That is why the young people who jump in first get excited. It is a spiritual love, he adds. Read this. Ethiopia's church is built by angels. The plunge is so swift that some participants get battered in the process, though most are unperturbed by the few scratches. I jumped from high above both one man who dived into the waters from one of the nearby trees. I was apprehensive, he added. The branches could give way and you could fall on the rock edge of the pool, and there was a possibility I could have lost my life, but at this moment I am doing what I feel good about, and the possibility of death doesn't scare me. The timekeep festival dates back to the 16th century, but it was marked only in churches until the baptismal ceremonies were introduced, explains Bedlam Tedis Tedla, a historian at the University of Gondar. The baptisms, usually held on January 19, are celebrated differently in other parts of the country. There are 3 options for Tinkat, says Tedla, to be immersed, to collect water from 3 pipes and pour it on people, or to collect water and sprinkle it. It depends on availability of water. In Gondar, the first is implemented because of the extent of this very important building. He adds, referring to the stone bath, a UNESCO World Heritage Site built in 1732 for King Faisal. Facilities. As the afternoon winds down, people begin to leave the pool and head back to the streets. But the festivities aren't quite over. Each tugboat is now paraded back to its respective church with crowds of onlookers eager to get one last look at them. Back at the church is a different character seems congregants fill the church grounds to listen in on the final service. And after a closing prayer, it's time to send the table back inside the church to its resting place. The locals will eventually return to their homes for the special feast, but in the meantime, the celebrations on the streets of Gondar continue, a chance for Orthodox Christians to celebrate and come together for one of the most sacred and festival days of the year. Number 4. 4 days after Thailand police clash with anti-government protesters in Bangkok, Thailand. Thailand's bitter political crisis in that fish Tuesday as 4 people were killed in clashes between anti-government protesters and police, and the country's anti-corruption commission filed charges against the prime minister. The deadly violence erupted in the heart of Bangkok after months of protests against Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra. They have deepened political division in the Southeast Asian nation. A police officer died after he was shot in the head, and 3 male protesters were also killed, officials says. 64 people, both police officers and protesters, were wounded in the clashes Tuesday, according to the Iran Emergency Center, a medical until monitoring the unrest in Thailand. Police were trying to clear demonstrators who have been campaigning against Yingluck for months in central Bangkok, after police fired tear gas in an attempt to disperse a crowd of demonstrators in the streets. People among the protesters began firing guns at police. With the two sides about 200 meters apart, police responded by firing rubber bullets and live ammunition. During the firefight, which lasted about 20 minutes, a grenade exploded near the group of police officers, knocking them to the ground. At least 4 of them were wounded, said Lieutenant Parenton Penafthaput, the national security chief. Thousands of protesters, about 6,000 demonstrators, were estimated to be on the streets of the city Tuesday, Parodin said, and thousands of security personnel have been mobilized. Protesters observed to Yingluck have been camped out since November at official buildings around the city, including Government House, the office of the Prime Minister, and appointed cabinet ministers. Leaders of the protest say they want Yingluck's government replaced by an unelected People Council which would oversee electoral and political changes. Clashes among pro and anti-government groups had flared up during the crisis, leaving at least 10 people dead and hundreds wounded. The government responded by imposing a state of emergency last month. Please move in. Until recently, authorities had largely refrained from confronting the demonstrators directly, even when they prevented large numbers of people from voting in recent elections. They changed last week as police began attempts to seize sites occupied by protesters for months. Government officials say the protesters' actions were blocking public access to government services, making intervention by authorities necessary. Officials claim public sentiment was turning against the demonstrators, but the protesters have so far refused to give way. Police said they arrested 145 protesters near the Ministry of Energy on Tuesday. Rice subsidy controversy. As the violence unfolded on the streets, Yingluck faced pressure on another front when Thailand's Anti-Corruption Commission said it was bringing charges against her over the controversial rice subsidy program. The National Counter-Corruption Commission said in a statement that it was calling Yingluck to appear February 27 to face charges that she failed to act on warnings of corruption in the program that her government introduced in 2011. The program, which offered farmers well above the market rate for their rice, has run into financial problems. Problems with the subsidy program have angered many farmers who make up part of Yingluck's support base in the north and east of Thailand. The Anti-Corruption Commission's charges could eventually lead to the suspension of Yingluck from a political position. Long-run increases. Protesters in Bangkok have been calling for months for the ouster of Yingluck, who then alleged is a puppy of her billionaire brother, the deposed exiled former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra. The protests were sparked in November by Yingluck's government's botched attempt to pass an amnesty bill that would have paved the way for her brother's return to the political fray in earnest. Clark had hoped the election sale earlier this month could help its stations, but the main opposition party boycotted the vote and protesters caused widespread disruption. They left the outcome of the election inconclusive, without enough result to reopen Parliament. It remains unclear when election officials will be able to complete the voting in disrupted areas. The civil unrest of recent months is the worst to hit Thailand since the crackdown on protesting demonstrators in 2010 left scores of people dead. Number 5. Apple Google cracking down on Flappy Bird clones. Your app store may be getting a lot less flappy. Both Apple and Google appear to be cracking down on new apps, taking advantage of the demise of Flappy Bird. The addictively simple casual game that became an unlikely sensation before its creator abruptly pulled it off the market last week. Even before Flappy Bird topped the download charts last month, a cavalcade of knockoff games began appearing. A quick search for the word Flappy in the Google Play Store on Monday returned 250 results from Flappy Pig and Flappy Fish to Flappy Troll, Flappy Cat. Yes, it is the web's beloved Nyan Cat, and even Flappy Beaver. Then came Vietnamese developer Dong Nguyen's abrupt announcement he was going to pull Flappy Bird from online stores. The resulting wave of publicity created even more demand for the game, and others like it. But now developers say both major mobile players are pushing back. This is just of Dynamite. Fine week rejected. We found your app name attempts to leverage a popular app. Ken Carpenter of My Jersey Media tweeted Friday, which app FB doesn't exist. Carpenter said he had submitted a game called Flappy Dragon. Several developers responded to his post, saying they had gotten similar notice from Apple and Google. Neither Apple nor Google immediately responded Monday to a request for comment. An Apple spokesperson told tech blog The Verge that the company is cracking down not just on apps with the word Flappy in the title, but all apps that appear to be trying to trick customers into thinking they are associated with or replacing a popular original. A developer told App Battleground they retitled his popular game Flappy Bird as Jim P.P. Beat several days ago after getting an email from Apple saying he had 48 hours to change the name. After existing in relative obscurity for months, Flappy Bird took off in popularity late last year and became the most popular free app in both Apple's App Store and Google Play, the store for Android apps. At its height, the game was earning Nguyen an estimated $50,000 a day through advertising, and obvious recent outlets hope to piggyback on its success. Nguyen said he was pulling the game, which took him 2 or 3 days to create because he had become an active product after he pulled his smartphones with the game already installed began popping up on eBay, with some sellers asking tens of thousands of dollars. While the app is no longer available, Nguyen is still earning money off ads viewed by the millions of people who had already download it.
I have finished my recording. Thank you for your listening.